Alright, so this is the part that everybody kind of wants to see the most, I guess, and I'll go ahead and talk through this just very briefly. What I like to do is, when I install spacers, is I like to make sure that this whole area where the spacer is going to sit, that it's going to go ahead and sit properly. It's going to sit in a good, clean area. What I like to do is I like to use a few different wire brushes. These are attachments that I can use on my drill, and as you guys can see, it's a quick little add-on. Now for me, I like to use two different ones. I like to use a nice circular one. Now actually they're both circular, but they're both different. As you guys can see, this one has a more of a flat surface and this one hits more at different angles, and what it does, it allows me to go ahead and get on different areas at a different coverage, so that way I maximize my point of that way I get the most coverage around the surface. So basically, what I do try to use is always use protective eyewear. You're gonna get little shards broken off, and the last thing you want is for those to hit you in the eye. So again, wear protective eyewear. So I'll start with the big circular flat wheel, and Brandon's gonna go ahead and help me out by having the vacuum on at the same time as I go ahead and I have the drill, so that way I minimize the amount of dust and debris that's up in the air. So I'll go ahead and I'll use the wheel going this way so that all the dust comes this way, and then Brandon can just catch it with the vacuum. So that would be essentially the ideal purpose of the vacuum being used with the wheel brush. So alright, and just like that, we have a brand new rotor. Move the bolts that hold the rotor. Yep, hex number 5. Now what I like to do is I like to use my drill, my attachment, and I like to make sure that my hex key or my hex socket is right on there, and then just push it in there, having a good pressure on there. Release, and boom. That's a nice clean removal. Nothing, all the thread is intact, and the head, most importantly, is also intact. But we're not going to reuse these. We're going to use the ones that Future Classic provides. This is just to ensure that whenever we remove it, nothing's going to get stripped or stuck in there. So again, like I had mentioned before, we are going to be using the Future Classic spacers. So thank you, Brandon. So we did opt for the 12 millimeter. So again, these are the spacers I highly recommend. Mostly because, as you guys saw, I removed the set screws, and usually didn't do this process, right? So we do the anti-seize to prevent any corrosion, any rust from building up in here. And the whole thing is just making sure that we get it around these points where it's going to be making the most contact, and then just after you're done, just get a nice little coat around there, just like that. Now when we have our spacer, we kind of just try to measure it. You see our sides. I've done this many times, so that's why for me it's a lot easier to kind of just look at the design and know exactly where it's going to go. Once that's already set, they provide us with new hardware. They also provide you guys with anti-seize, but since I have my own, I like to use my own anti-seize. Got the new hardware. So as you guys can see the difference, this is what it was already originally in there, and then this is our new hardware. This is to compensate for our spacer and so that it makes good contact to the hub. So we'll set one, and these are the same. These are number 5s, hex number 5s. So what I like to do is before I tighten it up, I like to use the original lug nuts and then put them on here all the way to the point where they're tight. What that's going to do, it's going to ensure that the spacer is spread out evenly, and when I put these on, that nothing is going to go against, going crooked or against the thread, just to ensure that we have the best possible install. Alright, so if we look at the instructions, Future Classics recommends that you go ahead and you torque the spacers to 16 newton-meters or 12 foot-pounds. So that's what we're supposed to go ahead and torque these to, which again is hand tight. So I got my torque wrench over here. It's already set to 12 foot-pounds. So what I'll do is I'll put my hex key right there. Now, if I don't put anything on here, it's gonna the wheel hub's gonna spin. So what I do is I use the same little brush that they provide to set it in place to allow me to keep my rotor in place. And you see right there, guys? That right there is what we needed. And I'll do the same thing for the other one. There it is. See, it's not a lot. Like I said, it's just hand tight. For you guys, I just wanted to make sure I showed you guys how to do it properly. But if you feel comfortable enough to where you know what 12 foot-pounds is, this can be a lot quicker. So with our spacer in place, now we can go ahead and remove our tool that was gonna prevent a rotor from spinning. We'll set this aside, and I'll go ahead and grab the wheel. Now, do remember to go ahead and switch out your studs. As you guys can see, this is the stock lug nuts, and then these are our Future Classic lug nuts. And as you guys can see, this is to compensate for our 12mm spacer. So never run spacers with your stock hardware. Never run spacers with stock hardware. Always make sure to use the hardware appropriate for spacers. Otherwise, you guys can definitely have a very fun time on the road.
A very bad weekend.
Yeah, no kidding. Spacers, wheel hubs, wheels on, proper way. Now, with spacers, we do need to torque the wheels to 115 foot-pounds. So do remember to torque wheels to 115 foot-pounds. If you don't run spacers, you're supposed to torque your wheels up to 95 foot-pounds. But with spacers, make sure you guys are running the proper torque specs on your wheels. So let's do the last wheel, and we'll go for a little drive. And just like that, we're ready to put the wheel on. As you guys can see, this is a very nice, clean job. This is the way I like to do it most of the time. I mean, when I'm given the amount of time where I can just spend it and, you know, do a nice, clean, detailed job, this is very, for me, it's very satisfying and rewarding in its own way. Alright guys, that's it.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. That pretty much does it for the install. Spacers, future plastic, 12mm all around. BMW 666 M style wheels. Honestly, I think it's just the perfect combination. Alright guys, so pretty much I'm done with the whole install. I've kind of just been kicking it with Brandon right now, just kind of discussing the whole car, the build, and what the next plans will be for the car. So you guys can see everything looks so clean. The rotor, and then you have a nice spacer over there. This whole setup looks really good with the M Performance decal. I think the next thing that we're gonna do will be, actually I'm gonna keep that a secret. I know we have a few surprises along the way, but I hope you guys enjoyed this quick DIY as far as installing spacers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below or send me a message. I'll be happy to help you guys and answer any questions. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for stopping by, Brandon.
Thank you, Daniel. Everybody subscribe.
Thank you.
Hit that notification bell. Daniel's a man. So.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate it.
100%.
Alright, guys. I'll see you guys later.
Peace.